understand this. You do not grow because you are comfortable. You grow because you are cornered. I want y'all to understand why pain is the beginning. Why pain is the beginning of strength. Why pain is the most important, one of the most important parts of anybody's life seeking growth. Understand that pain is not punishment. Okay? Pain is a setback. It could be a jail. It could be a breakup. But pain is what's going to force you to grow. Something you're going to have to go through. Something you're going to have to be uncomfortable with doing. That shit is going to help you grow. It's called forced growth. In this life, there's no way that you're going to avoid pain. Some way, somehow, you're going to get hurt. But understand, when you get hurt, how do you feel after you get hurt? You feel like shit. But after that happens, for the next weeks or months, what do you see? You see growth, depending on how much pain you went through. Right? Depending on how much pain you went through, that determines how much growth you went through. And I'm not saying go out here and fucking hurt yourself, but I'm saying don't be afraid to take risk and understand that all risks come with pain. Pain of losing, pain of anxiety, pain of letting go. When you change your mindset, like I was saying, the pain becomes less, but it's still there. So, for example, when you invest in yourself, I'm going to tell you guys something in this video, and I'm making up a video about it later on, probably down the line. Why investing also is important. Because when you invest, that shit hurts. Because you don't want to spend that money. But sitting on the money is not going to get you any more money. You get me? Sitting on that money is not going to get you any more money, bro. But investing that money is going to get you more money. Even if it's 50 cents. Even if it's $2. Even if it's $50 a day. It's better than that shit just sitting there. And investing, all investments have risk. So just make sure you pick your poison wisely. But understand that you're going to benefit more from investing because you will learn from your mistakes every time you invest. That's why investing is really important. Like I was saying in my last video, nobody's coming to save you. You have to understand, like, the older generation doesn't understand how important investment is. They was taught to save up their money and keep saving. But now, the younger generation understands that investing is probably one of the most important things that you can do at a young age. Because you're compounding wealth. The hardest part about investing is not putting the money in. The hardest part, people think the hardest part is putting the money in, but that's not the hardest part. It is hard though. The hardest part is not taking the money out once you start to see a return. That is the hardest part. It's keeping the investment going in flow. Keeping it in a flow state. I look at money as energy. When you invest, when you invest, when you have money, don't think about it as losing money. Think about it as energy. Think about it as you transforming energy into something else. Because that's literally what it is. Everything has energy in it. Energy does not die. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. Right? All you're doing is transferring that energy to something else. That is all you are doing. Right? You have to keep that money in a flow state. You got to keep it rolling. That is the hardest part. Not taking it out. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you're a drug dealer. I've sold drugs before. Let's say you're a drug dealer and you buy a pound of weed for $1,500, right? And you profit $4,000 off of that pound. I mean, not profit. You profit $3,000 off of that pound, but you're sitting at $4,000 altogether, right? A dumb ass would take all that money and spend it all, and then try to make back some more money to put back into another pound. A smart person would see the 4,000, separate 1,500, get another pound, and then fucking flip that shit and keep or spend what he just made. Even if you spending it, which I don't suggest, but even if you are, right, at least keep the shit in flow. You get me? At least keep it in a flow state. Don't sit up here and like spend all that shit, bro. That shit is retarded. Seriously. So yeah. And secondly, what I want to say about pain is understand. I had an Uber driver the other day, and he was telling me about growth. If you break a bone and you are healing, right, and it starts to grow and it starts to heal the wrong way, you know what you gotta do, right? You gotta break that bone again so that it can heal correctly. Because if you half-ass and skip steps, it's gonna later bite you in the ass. Because now your bone is healing all weird and shit, and it's gonna cause complications when you get older. That's why when people break bones and they think they cool and they go to the doctor and they get x-ray because they got pain, the doctor's like, yo, I ain't gonna lie, like, you actually did break this bone. You should have came in when you broke it, because now for this pain to go away, we're gonna have to break this shit again, and it's gonna have to heal the right way. So that's why I'm saying, understand that you cannot skip pain. There's no pain, there's no gain. Even in the gym, that shit gonna hurt. But understand the process. You gotta see the process. You gotta see the end goal. Enjoy the grind, enjoy the journey, but always see the end goal. That's what keeps you motivated. Just see that shit every day. See that shit every moment you grinding. Anytime you feel like giving up, you know what I'm saying? Just see that shit. My client just texted me, he's here. I think this nigga early as shit, bro. But you gotta see that shit, bro. Fuck what anybody else talking about. Fuck how anybody else feel. Because like I said before in my other video, they're only gonna care for about 5 minutes max. And then you have the rest of your life to live. That's the fucking funny part, man. So do things for you. And understand, if you want to grow, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt to grow. You're going to hurt. There's no way that you're going to escape that. That shit's going to hurt, gang. I'm going to keep it real with you. That shit's going to hurt. But understand, most of the time, the more that shit hurts, the more experience and the more XP that you'll be getting from that. You get me? Understand that. The more that shit hurts, the more XP that you'll be getting most of the time. I'm not saying be out here doing nothing stupid, you know, like jumping off buildings and shit, but you get what I'm getting at, and that's good. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Like I said, I recorded this shit. Y'all probably won't see this until February 2nd. I recorded this shit a whole like 2 weeks before this shit updated. But I'm trying to get to the point where I got at least like 60, 50 videos just scheduled. So even if I die, like my videos just still go and they still play and they still run it. But I love y'all though.